Recent commenters on some of my videos are all saying the same thing. This sounds like a beta opinion. And the reason I'm laughing, if you aren't familiar with this channel yet, this is a thing that I'm doing where I'm just presenting factual research and doing deep dives into studies and science surrounding a lot of society's biggest problems. So really the main takeaway for me that I'm finding from interacting on a platform where a lot of the manosphere audience is hanging out and who occasionally wander over to the more rational spaces of the internet like this channel, what I'm seeing mainly is that pretending to be alpha means that you just dismiss the capacity for critical thought. To be alpha seems like you just deliberately close yourself off from reality. Of course, the prime example of this is the fact that alpha is not a thing to begin with. Alpha wolves are literally just parents, and alpha behavior in the wild is just parenting. And it has nothing at all to do with hierarchies of dudes. And you can check out the explainer video where I go through the real science around alphas if you haven't seen that yet. And so I think we need a new term for this, because alpha just does not make sense. The word alpha is supposed to reflect characteristics of the epitome of male members of our species. And in reality and in practice, really is just a meaningless self-applied label used by guys who can't spell. And it's not ideal to let people with fringe antisocial belief systems self-identify in a way that controls the narrative. And there's a lot of backlash about alpha behavior right now, so the narrative is very much thinning, just like most of their hairlines. Hey, mine too, but I don't make it like an aspect of my virility and manhood or whatnot. It's just like biology, dog. But I'm going to propose a couple of things here, because I came up with 5 new words we could use to replace the term alpha male in our colloquial vocabulary. So let's go through those. One is a really quick fix, and because we're talking about people who have a hard time with words, this one is also so close phonetically that even they might not have any problems with it. I'm talking about the Greek word Aphron, which translates to fool or foolish, or just unwise. And we're sticking with Greek because we've heard that they like that. All this alpha, beta, sigma stuff and all the Greek fraternities they belong to when they managed to make it to college in the first place. I mean, it's just something that we know that they like. So Aphron would be a very small pivot. It's also biblical, and a lot of these alpha bros happen to enjoy a big overlap in the Venn diagram with Christian nationalists. So they'll no doubt appreciate the fact that the word Aphron appears in the New Testament 11 times. This is a perfect fit all around. My next suggestion, if we're sticking with Greek still, and I think we should, because again, these guys are very comfortable with movies like 300 and thinking about gladiators, and it just really eases us into a very interchangeable mythology that I think we could slide right by them without them even realizing. Which brings me to my next word to replace alpha, which is Moros. Moros is a Greek word that has a couple of relevant meanings for our purposes. First is that it's the word origin for the English word moron, and I think you could see pretty easily how that applies to what we're talking about here. And in modern Greek, the similar but etymologically unrelated word moro means baby or sweetheart, and it kind of works that that's close because I'd say a lot of these guys are really in love with themselves. So moron, sweetheart, so far so good. The other thing about the word Moros is that in Greek mythology, Moros is the personified spirit of doom, or the god of doom, who propels mortals and even the gods to their inevitable, inescapable end. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit. This is the perfect word to replace alpha, because you have all these cretins, also a Greek word by the way, but probably too complex historically to use for our alpha friends or for them to understand. And all of these guys are just underachieving mental amphibians who reject evidence and factual information in favor of whatever makes them feel powerful. And those feelings of power are very often oppressive and destructive, and they manifest in the most meaningless, stupidest ways, and always negatively impact the social infrastructure of humankind. So the moron part is there. The loving themselves part is there, which is really just an enormous overcompensation, of course, for the fact that they're insanely self-conscious and actually terrified of life. Like my dog snaps at things when she's afraid too, but I don't call her the alpha of the family, you know? And then the part of Moros where it's a god of impending doom that's driving all of us right to the edge, this is all very applicable. What's next? I think we go Latin next. And my rationale for this, again, is basically just gladiator stuff. We also have the fact that the average man thinks about the Roman Empire at least once a day, supposedly, so I can only imagine that the alpha males, the absolute peak of our species, are just tossing thoughts around about the Roman Empire 60 billion times an hour. And so my next suggestion is the Latin word Stolidus. And I picked Stolidus mainly because of how it sounds, honestly. I think that alpha bros are gonna really find it pretty manly. I think they're gonna get hooked on the phonics of this. Stolidus is the word in Latin that's the origin for the English word stolid, which Merriam-Webster defines as having or expressing little or no sensibility. In Latin, stolid translates to dull, expressionless, or stupid. In modern English, you can also see it used to mean impassive or unemotional. I really don't think the unemotional part of it works in practice because the so-called alphas are some of the most emotional human beings alive, but they all want to be stoics. There's a huge stoic community running around in the manosphere, and the Venn diagram of alphas and stoics is also probably pretty close to a circle. So Stolidus actually works on multiple levels too. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also bring up the fact that I think a lot of these dudes are just angry about being closeted, and I think the gladiator aspect of this, like the hunky, half-naked, shimmering, chested gladiator movies, well, that all just kind of leads us back to how nice it is to have a Latin word inside this list. Stolidus it is. The next one is cool because you may have heard the story that J.R.R. Tolkien was really just a linguist and a humongous nerd who made up a bunch of stuff that he just coincidentally needed a story to hold all of. So he wrote The Lord of the Rings. So when I had a phase where I studied the Gothic language for a minute, which is a pre-Germanic language, extant in the same time as the Roman Empire, incidentally, I got a kick out of seeing the connections between Lord of the Rings and the Gothic language. So for example, Theoden in Gothic is the word that means king, which, you know, makes sense. And a lot of these alpha bros have got to be on their 30th watch of the extended edition director's cuts of Peter Jackson's completed and revised, newly remastered Magnavox masterpiece collection of the Lord of the Rings trilogy at this point. So I figured, why not sink deep into the lore that makes the alpha males want to be Aragorn when really they're just all Gollum? And we'll go with the Gothic word. The Gothic word that I chose for this is Dwahls, which means dumb or dull. And if we wanted to spice things up a bit, we could use Dwala, which translates in some places to madman, which I'm kind of partial to actually as a term of endearment, but I'd be willing to give it up if we all decided that Gothic was the way to go for renaming alpha dorks. And last but not least, with number 5, I went to mythology again, this time to Old Norse, because a lot of the alphas see themselves very bizarrely as some kind of modern Viking warriors, like Kash Patel telling people he's gonna see him in Valhalla. Such a weirdo. He's not even any of the things that would, you know what, whatever. He's not even like any of his origins would be Valhalla subject. Like, what? Afglapi is an Old Norse word and also a modern Icelandic word that means fool or simpleton. Honestly, I'm really into this one just because it sounds so silly. Afglapi.
Afglapi.
Afglapi. Oh man, the Afglapi are just so manly. The Afglapi are so strong. They're not at all massively out of shape with horrible mental and physical hygiene. The Afglapi are the best of us. So there you go. Let me know which word you'd pick to replace the term alpha male. Let me know down in the comments. And if you have your own suggestions, let me know that too. I also want to say that I do not know the Greek language, either modern nor ancient, so if you need to correct something, I'm totally fine with that if you want to do that down in the comments too. You and I are not Afglapi, formerly alpha males. We are people who love learning and accept new information and corrections and just want to understand the best evidence there is about the world around us so that we can do some fucking good in our own little sphere of influence. So keep on doing that until I see you in the next one. And you bunch of Afglapi that came here wandering in from the manosphere content, I'll see you next time too, because I'm sure you're going to be down in the comments on this one. Afglapi.